Well, welcome into Instant Reaction in Indianapolis Colts podcast. We're reacting to the 36-19 loss in Jacksonville to the Jaguars for the Colts. I'm Casey Vallier, joined as always by Colts Ring of Honor wide receiver Bill Brooks. The outcome of the game, it was crushing for all of the AFC South division implications for the Colts. The Colts now fall a full game behind Jacksonville as the Colts are now 8-5. The Jags improved to 9-4. We know the Texans are right at the heels as well. But then the conversation that just dominated the majority of the game was the injury to Daniel Jones. That one right there, Bill, it just was an absolute crushing blow for what this team had kind of started in Jacksonville. They had a nice offensive drive. You're hoping maybe things will start turning the right direction, and then you have that injury to Daniel Jones. We don't know the extent of it yet. We'll get into that a little bit here, but just a crushing blow at the time that it happened.
Yeah, it was a crushing blow for the Colts, and it's anytime you have an injury, it's not good. And for your starting quarterback that you expect to, carry you through the rest of the season and hopefully into the playoffs, and then you get that injury and he's not able to play to finish out the game. That is a crushing blow. Now the guys rallied around Riley, and that's good to see. But having the guy that has meant so much to the team earlier on in the season and what he's done just by being a good teammate and helping guys out and being there for them and showing what it takes to prepare for a game and going out there and playing well. It was a blow to see. Anytime you're starting quarterback in starting position and you lose that guy, it is a crushing blow to the team. Now the team is going to have to rally around Riley and don't know the extent of Daniel's injury, but hopefully the guys will rally around Riley as long as Daniel's out and be ready to play and go and help Riley to do the best he can out there. And, Riley's a talented young man. And the thing I saw from Riley in this game was the game wasn't too big for him. It was a game that, he looked calm out there. It didn't look like he was nervous or anything like that. But I think a lot of that goes to his preparation, and he was ready to go if something like that happened, and it did. And he went out there and was prepared, and so he didn't look too rattled, and it wasn't too big for him.
Absolutely. Now, that injury, a non-contact injury, looked like he slipped on the grass, and then it's confirmed that it's an Achilles injury. Now, Shane Steichen didn't have a full diagnosis yet to the extent of the injury. He offered this quote, and I want to make sure that I get this exactly right because this is what Shane Steichen said. He said, "Could be season ending. I don't have full details on it yet, but we will get more to clarify on that injury." Stephen Holder, who covers the Colts for ESPN, he then asked him if he had clarity on what that injury is, and he responded, "We don't know for sure, but it's not looking good." So those are the quotes from Shane Steichen on that Achilles injury for Daniel Jones. And my question to you, Bill, you've been inside those locker rooms. You have seen injuries. It's part of the game. You talk about the importance of the starting quarterback, but you also look at this team. I mean, you're 8-5. You still have everything in front of you. And there's still 4 games left, 2 games inside the division. You can still get into the postseason and accomplish a lot that you have. So, yeah, it's a crushing injury. We know that is tough to overcome, but you still got a team who has gotten to this point where you're still in a pretty good position to make a move here over the next 4 weeks and still get yourself into that playoff picture. So how do you weigh that inside of a locker room? Because you're trying to, make sure everything goes right for, Riley Leonard as it moving forward to see what that injury of Daniel is going to be. But then also, I mean, you got another week next week that if you get a victory, that continues to help that playoff push.
Exactly. I mean, this is where your veterans are going to have to step up and say, "Hey, look, yes, unfortunately, if Daniel can't go or not, unfortunately, Daniel might not be able to play. But you know what? We have the guys in this locker room to still accomplish the goals that we have set out for the year. And if we didn't have the guys in here, you wouldn't be here. If you weren't the guys, you guys wouldn't be in this locker room. So we have faith in you. We have confidence in you guys to go out and make the plays to get us to where we need to go." So those guys will rally around each other. The veterans will get the young guys, says, "Hey, just focus on what you need to do and do your job, and then everything will take care of itself. So it's very important for the guys to make sure they believe in themselves and believe in each and every one of their teammates that they can do the job. And it's just about those guys moving forward because, as you said, Casey, you just have to take one game at a time,
Right.
and you still have things in front of you. And if you do your job and take care of 1 week at a time, don't look at the big picture, take one game at a time, you can still accomplish the goals that you set for yourself. And that's the most important thing for this team, to set out those goals, go after those goals, and still try to reach those goals because you believe in one another. And that's going to be the most important thing. The guys believe in one another in that locker room.
Absolutely. Now, as far as the injury status with Daniel Jones goes, we'll continue to keep you posted. You can always check out Colts.com and the Colts social media channels for any updates on Daniel Jones and all things Colts. So make sure you're dialed in to all of those avenues for you for all your Colts news and updates. Now, looking at this game, as we mentioned, the Colts fall in Jacksonville, and there are a handful of areas you can really dive into. And the one that I really wanted to start off with, Bill, the Colts allowed 14 points off turnovers. Excuse me. The Colts allow 14 points off turnovers, but they also, you can throw in the safety that happened on the sack. So there is 16 points. And if you want to go with a turnover on downs, that also led to a touchdown. So I'm going to not count the turnover on downs because that doesn't go into the whole math on it. But essentially, if you look at it, just 16 points off the turnovers and the safety, and you ultimately lose by 17 points, you really cannot continue to gift those opportunities to the opposing team, whether it was the interception, the Jonathan Taylor fumble, both of those gave the Jags short field. And I'm not saying that was the, end all be all, but when you look at the final point total, that is one of the big areas on where the Colts lost this game.
Yeah, and we've always talked about turnovers, how big turnovers are, and then definitely in this case where the turnovers were at. It gave the Jacksonville Jaguars great field position to go and get in and score, and then they converted those turnovers into points, into touchdowns. So at least two of those turnovers into touchdowns. So it's very important for you to not make sure that you do not give the ball to the opposing team. You have to make sure you hold on to the ball and don't give those turnovers to the other team. So that was very important. And, we talked about this before. You want to make sure that you don't put your defense in bad positions, and you
Right.
put your defense in a bad position. Now, the defense will say, it's our job to stop them anyway. And true, it is their job to stop them. But as a team, you don't want to put your defense in a bad position. And unfortunately, they were put in a bad position, and the Jacksonville Jaguars converted. And you know what? They took advantage of it. And those are the things that happen when you make mistakes. You can't make those type of mistakes. Turn the ball over, give the other team more opportunities, and great field position to possibly score points. And they did score points. Give the Jacksonville Jaguars credit for, one, creating a turnover, and two, taking advantage of the opportunities they had to score points. And it's tough. That hurts a lot when you just give another team some points. I won't say they just gave it to them, but when you make those mistakes, you are giving other team an opportunity to score points, and Jacksonville Jaguars took advantage of it.
Absolutely. And one of the guys who I think for the Jags that, we identified, I think, in our local pregame stuff, Bill, we knew we had the Colts needed to have a really good plan for how to defend Travis Etienne. And I thought he made a very big impact to the game, especially in the first half. He was averaging 7 yards per carry in the first half. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. He finished the game 20 carries for 74 yards. When you hear those numbers, that yards per carry average is down. But I think if you look at where it was late, the Jags were in that spot where they're running out the clock. They're not looking for those explosives. They got those early in the game from Travis Etienne. So that was an offensive weapon the Colts really struggled to have an answer for in this ball game.
Yeah, Travis Etienne is a good athlete, good running back, and he has been for a number of years for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And he can do a lot of different things. I mean, he not just only can run the ball, but he catches the ball out the backfield very well. You get him he can run outside, he can run inside, he can do a lot of different things. And in the first half, he did a nice job for them, just making some big plays, some explosive plays for them. And that's what they were looking for. And then when your offense can have some explosive plays out of the run game, it sets things up for play action pass. It sets things up for balls down the field, getting the ball to some of your receivers. So that was a big part of their game to get Travis Etienne involved in it, and they did, especially in the first half, and he took advantage of it. And when you have an athlete like that, you really have to pay attention to him and kind of make sure the guys kind of surround him, keep him in the well, so to speak. I wouldn't say keep him in the well, but maybe keep him corralled a little bit so he doesn't make those big plays. And unfortunately, he made a couple of big runs against the Colts defense.
Now, looking at the Colts offensively, I thought there were a couple bright spots. It was good to see Jonathan Taylor get back into the end zone, something he seemingly did at will the first 8 weeks of the season. It's the first time he's back in the end zone since the game in Berlin against the Falcons. So, after being held out of the end zone essentially the entire month of November, he's able to get back into the end zone, which is something that keeps adding to that total as he came in today leading the league in rushing scores. He gets his 16th of the season, but then also Alec Pierce, another really good game. And then Michael Pittman Jr. today, 9 catches for 79 yards. Now, I don't want to talk about officiating, Bill, but I think maybe it should have been 11 catches and a touchdown, but that's not the way that it went. But I thought Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce were able to be, two bright spots inside this Colts aerial attack here in the game against the Jags.
Yeah, Pittman is always a constant, a guy that can, make those tough catches over the middle. Was always giving 100% effort, making and being physical out there when he can. And the interception, I don't know what happened. I always thought the tie went to the receiver or
Yeah, me
whoever was
too.
getting the ball. So I don't know what happened with that or what they saw in that. So I couldn't give you an answer for that one,
I'm
Casey.
with you, Bill. That's like I said. We're not
Uh,
talking about the
I'm
officiating here
not talking
today,
about the
but
officiating, but
I don't know. I thought the rule was, yeah, it is
yeah,
what it is, right?
yes, but it is what it is. But Pitt had a good game, came out ready to play, and Alec has just been playing at a phenomenal level over the past few weeks, and is doing a nice job, not just catching the ball and high pointing the ball and going up and making those big catches, but running his routes, getting open in the middle of the field, running crossers, run curl routes, and things of that nature. He's doing a nice job of just kind of expanding his route tree, so to speak, doing the things that the coaches are asking him to do, and just catching the ball and doing a nice job. And that one catch he had, I think one of his longest catch was he's coming across the field and uh, Riley was scrambling and he found the
Yeah.
open area and then just Riley got him the ball. He caught it and had a run after the catch. So nice job by Alec finding the soft spot and making something happen. So Alec's doing a nice job being very consistent over the past few weeks. And, I think, he's going to that next level and I want to see him continue to get better and go to another level. And he's just doing a nice job for the team and being available and making the big plays when needed.
Now, final thing here, we haven't talked about Riley Leonard much to this point. Very tough spot for him to enter the game. You think about it, Bill, you played this, you're in the Ring of Honor, so you know exactly how this goes for a backup quarterback. You think about what the week is like, you're not getting those first team reps. You're not getting a whole bunch of reps with the guys that you're out there with. And then especially to add on top of for Riley Leonard being a rookie. I mean, he really hasn't seen any regular season NFL action to this point. He goes out there, he goes 18 for 29, 145 yards. He did have the one interception. He had one rushing score. How do you think Riley Leonard played? Because that is a really, really tough spot to come in. I thought he came in and showed, like you mentioned at the top, the game wasn't too big for him, and I thought he had some bright spots.
Yeah, I thought he did have some bright spots actually coming in the game. And as you mentioned, the backup quarterback, you don't get a lot of reps in practice. You get a few reps, and the reps you do get, you're running the scout team for the defense. So you don't get a lot of reps of actually your own stuff, the game plan that's going in against your opponent. So he didn't get a lot of reps. You normally don't get a lot of reps. So for him to be prepared, ready to go, that showed that he does work on his own, does work outside of the field, in the classroom, on his own time, watching film, making sure he goes over the game plan and has a great feel for the game plan. I think he talked about it after the game that he talks with Daniel and he go over the game plan and look at things and they quiz each other and things like that. And to me, I
Right.
think that is great to hear that Daniel Jones is willing to spend the time with Riley Leonard to help him get ready for the game, just in case something were to happen. And that speaks volumes about Daniel Jones and Riley, also about Riley being available to learn from Daniel Jones, available to want to pick Daniel Jones's brain about certain things, because Riley is a rookie. So I thought he did some nice things out there on the football field. Yes, there are some things, some throws I'm sure he wished he had back, but that he's a rookie. Those things are
Right.
going to happen. So for him to have the minimum amount of reps in practice to get ready for a game, and then him to go out there and look calm, cool, and to play the way he did, I thought he did a nice job out there. And now this week, if he's going to be the guy that's going to play, he will obviously get more reps. And when those reps come, he'll hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable out there and be able to hit those guys and and do a nice job. So I look for him to play even better when he does go back out there, and hopefully he will, and we'll see what happens. But like we said earlier, we don't know the extent of Daniel Jones' injury. I know Shane said it doesn't look good, but we'll see what happens.
Right. We will have you completely updated on everything with the Daniel Jones injury, and if he happens to miss time, how much time, all of that stuff. We'll have you completely locked down there on Colts.com. But one more thing on Riley Leonard, Bill. You know, you saw the body of work in college, and
Mhm.
you get to know what he did during training camp, and talking with him a little bit here and there. I think the maturity level and kind of that it factor, you saw all of that. You understood
Mhm.
completely why this Chris Ballard and staff fell in love with Riley Leonard, why they targeted him to draft him. He was one of those guys that, yeah, maybe he's got some room to grow, but if you want to ask me, I think every player, every quarterback that is drafted into the NFL, they're not ready to go immediately. They all need a little bit of work because it's a massive jump from the college game to the NFL game. Now, you don't always get that luxury. Sometimes you just kind of have to throw them to the fire. So maybe this is a little sooner than they really wanted to get Riley Leonard in because he has some growth he needs to do. But I think from a maturity standpoint and kind of handling everything with a level head, that was probably nothing anybody was worried about for where Riley Leonard is. And I think you saw all of that maturation kind of come to a head today because in that opportunity, in those situations where you're thrust in, I felt like he handled it pretty well. So that's a big tip of the cap to what Riley Leonard has done, leading up to his NFL debut, if you will. But it's been a pretty impressive start to his career from that maturation process. Now we'll see how long that continues. If he is the guy that has to continue to step in for the Colts, we'll kind of see how that moves moving forward. Now, Bill, this is the first time in the season the Colts have dropped 3 games. We've talked about it. It's a tough road the rest of the way. You got teams with winning records the rest of the way. You got to travel across the country to go play Seattle. They're 10-3. They had another dominant win again today. But like we mentioned, you got 8 wins on the season. You got 4 games left. There's still a massive opportunity for this team to get into the playoffs, but it all starts with getting back into that winning column. So, how important is this week for this team? Because you talk about the Daniel Jones injury. Like we said, we don't know the extent of it, but it's weighing on these players. You know that in the locker room at halftime, when you're thinking about it, like you take a minute to breathe and you're like, man, this is crushing. So now you have it. It's in the back of your mind now. Now you can move forward, kind of seeing what the next step is. It is vital this week to kind of put all that behind him, figure out a game plan, go out and execute, and get a massive win that could really, really boost your chances moving into, essentially week 16.
Yeah, you said it, Casey. Put this game right here behind them. Now they have to learn from it. They do have to watch the film when they get
Yep.
back into the building on Monday. Learn from that game, but put it behind you. And as I said earlier, these guys are going to have to come together themselves and say, "Hey, look, this only way this is going to change is if we do it, the players themselves." And it starts with each individual. You looking yourself in the mirror, at yourself in the mirror, and you deciding, "Hey, look, I have to do the things to get better." And the guys that are going to play, that are going to step in for some other guys that, might be banged up, you have to say, look, what do I have to do to make sure that I do my job out there in the football field? Now, I believe each player needs to say, hey, look, I know what I can do. I need to stay within myself. Don't try to do more than what I normally can
Right.
do. To stay within myself to do my job. Let the coaches put me in position to make plays. They know my talents. They know what I can do and what I can't do. They will put me in the best position to make plays. So it's going to be very important for these guys to come together and realize that, hey, look, we still have our goals in front of
Right.
us.
They're right
It's
there.
not, as they're right there. It's nothing that has happened that, our goals haven't changed. So let's go out and let's still fight. Let's still work. Let's still come together and go for these goals that we have right now. We still have an opportunity to do it. And as a player, that's all you want is an opportunity. They have this opportunity right now, still in front of them, to go out and reach their goals. So it's going to be it's going to be up to the players to make sure that they go out there and do their job, and they can reach the goals if they want to. It's all going to be up to them and how they go out and approach this week, 1 week at a time, not the rest of these last few games in the regular season, but one game at a time. The game that's coming up against the Seattle Seahawks, that's going to be the most important game.
Absolutely. It is a massive game next Sunday because it's an opportunity to go back out and get a win in the right column for this Indianapolis Colts team. Like we said with Daniel Jones, make sure you're dialed into Colts.com to get all the latest injury news and updates on Daniel Jones and also anything else you want to get updated with for the Colts. But for Bill Brooks, I'm Casey Vallier. The Colts fall to the Jags in Jacksonville 36-19. And as we mentioned, the team travels out west to take on the Seattle Seahawks next Sunday. And we will break all of that down for you when that happens. But thanks again for joining us here on Instant Reaction.